People barely talk about Ronaldinho as a teenager. It's like the world thinks he just appeared out of nowhere at 24, already a superstar ready to win the Ballon d'Or. But the truth? By then, he had already played 6 full seasons, racking up nearly 300 matches for club and country. And if you know Ronaldinho, do you really think he was any different back then? He was already the most entertaining footballer alive. The only problem was, the rest of the world hadn't noticed yet. Sure, the famous story everyone remembers is when he was 13 and scored 23 goals in a single game. That made headlines. But even Ronaldinho himself later admitted those opponents were amateurs, just a school team with no academy training. That wasn't the real reason he became a local star. The truth goes back to when he was just 7 years old, because before Ronaldinho, it was his older brother who was the prodigy. At 17, his brother was scoring in the Brazilian Cup final to give Grêmio their first ever title. Big European clubs were circling. Even Luiz Felipe Scolari said he was the brightest young talent in Brazil. But their father always had a different take. When reporters came to the house, he would smile and say, "My oldest is good, but wait until you see the little one. He's the real star of the family." Almost like he was preparing the world for a future he knew he wouldn't get to see. Because that same year, Ronaldinho came home from training to the words no child is ever ready for. There was an accident. Your father is gone. A heart attack. A drowning. Just like that, the man who had been his biggest supporter was gone forever. And yet, even in the middle of that pain, Ronaldinho held on to his father's words. Whenever you play football, play beautifully. His dad loved the game so much he worked extra hours parking cars at Grêmio Stadium, just to be closer to football. And for a family from Porto Alegre, closer to Uruguay than to Rio, making it in Brazilian football wasn't just a dream, it was nearly impossible. 2 years later, when his brother's career faded after a cruel injury, the responsibility fell to Ronaldinho. Honoring his father's advice wasn't just about football anymore, it was about memory. As he would later say, "Every time I touched the ball, it felt like he was right there beside me." It stopped being a dream, it became a mission. And so, even when academy coaches told him he was just a street player, that he'd never survive at the top, he never let go of that philosophy. By 16, he was already wearing Brazil's famous yellow shirt, assisting both goals in a final against Argentina to win the Under-17 South American Championship. Soon after, in Egypt, he lifted the U-17 World Cup trophy with the pyramids behind him. At that age, on that stage, it doesn't get more iconic than that. By this point, Grêmio had no choice left. They had to throw Ronaldinho into the first team. From his very first training session, the senior players couldn't stop whispering in the locker room. His family was right. This kid really is a master with the ball. So instead of easing him in, they tested him straight away. Starting matches against Vasco, putting him in charge of free kicks and corners, responsibilities veterans usually held. And he delivered immediately. One free kick rattled the crossbar. Another corner led directly to the winning goal. It was clear he belonged. A month later, he finally scored his first professional goal, a thunderbolt against Squad Lara. But even with flashes of brilliance, his first season was far from smooth. Manager Celso Roth grew impatient with how often the Brazilian Federation kept calling Ronaldinho away for youth tournaments. His minutes dried up, but that wouldn't last long. The following year, after missing the first 8 matches of the Gaucho Championship while winning bronze at the Under-20 World Cup, Ronaldinho returned and set the league on fire. 9 goals in his first 10 games. Then, when Grêmio lost the opening leg of the quarterfinals without him, he came back for the second and scored twice, single-handedly dragging them through. By now, the fans had chosen their new hero. And instead of comparing him to Ronaldo Nazario, they flipped the script, chanting that Ronaldinho wasn't the little Ronaldo, he was the better Ronaldo. And he backed it up. In the semifinals, he scored in both legs to book Grêmio a place in the final against their fiercest rivals, Internacional. That final would become the moment when the entire country realized this wasn't just a talented teenager. This was the next great Brazilian. Ronaldinho, at only 18, was ready to announce himself to the world. Heading into the first leg of the final, there was one opponent Ronaldinho couldn't take his eyes off, Dunga, the captain of Brazil's 1994 World Cup winning team. A legend, the newspapers built it up as a duel between generations, experience versus youth. And with Grêmio winless against Internacional in their last 8 meetings, most people assumed the kid had no chance. The first leg seemed to prove them right. Grêmio lost, and a frustrated Ronaldinho left the pitch swearing that one of his free kicks had actually crossed the line. Doubts grew louder, but in the second leg, everything changed. An hour in, Ronaldinho kissed the ball, placed it down, and bent a free kick into the top corner. Just like that, the tie was alive again. A third and final playoff match would decide it all. And this is where Dunga made his mistake. Furious after the second game, claiming Ronaldinho had stepped on him, he went on television calling the teenager bad-mannered and promising that in the decider, the kid would get what he deserved. What Dunga didn't realize was that Ronaldinho had grown up idolizing him, even collecting panini stickers of his face. To hear his hero trash him publicly turned the final into something deeply personal. All week, Ronaldinho practiced a special dribble in training. He even bet his teammates dinner that he'd use it on Dunga if the chance came. And when the decisive match arrived, he didn't just score a stunning solo goal after weaving past 4 defenders. He delivered on his promise. One-on-one with Dunga, Ronaldinho pulled off the trick. The veteran was left stumbling, humiliated. Even Ronaldinho's own mother joked afterwards that she hadn't raised him to embarrass people like that. By the end, Grêmio had the trophy. Fans flooded the pitch to lift their new hero on their shoulders, and Ronaldinho left the stadium smiling, telling reporters, "I could have done much worse. He got off easy. I had dribbles saved with his name on them." After that incredible performance, Brazil's coach Vanderlei Luxemburgo was already regretting not putting Ronaldinho on his Copa America squad. He had locked in the list too early, and the teenager's name wasn't on it. But fate intervened. During a friendly, a player named Edelson sparked chaos by showboating in the middle of a match, infuriating fans and opponents alike. Luxemburgo seized the moment, dropped Edelson from the squad, and with just 9 days before the tournament, called up Ronaldinho instead. The news reached him in the most surreal way. Still celebrating Grêmio's championship win live on TV, he was suddenly told he'd been called up to the national team. First, he laughed it off, thinking it was a prank. But 5 days later, he was wearing the yellow shirt, about to make his debut in a friendly against Venezuela. And then came the moment, his very first touch for Brazil. He flicked the ball over one defender, glided past another, and smashed a volley into the net. A debut goal that felt like the birth of something bigger. In that Copa America, he was still a supporting act as Rivaldo and Ronaldo carried Brazil to the trophy. But just 10 days after the final came the Confederations Cup, and this time Ronaldinho stole the show. In his opening match, he scored once and set up 2 more as Brazil demolished Germany 4-0. In the second match, Ronaldinho was Brazil's only scorer against the United States. To wrap up the group stage, he found the net again against New Zealand. But it was in the semi-final where he truly announced himself to the world. Just 11 minutes in, he bagged his first goal. Before halftime, he delivered a pinpoint cross for Alex to score. The second half, more of the same. He kicked it off with another assist, then produced an acrobatic strike that seemed to defy gravity, added yet another assist as stoppage time approached, and then sealed it all with what many still call the goal of the tournament. 3 goals, 3 assists, an 8-2 demolition. All of this barely a month after making his international debut. It was the kind of night that makes legends. By the end, no player deserved to lift the trophy more than Ronaldinho. But football can be cruel. Despite winning the Golden Ball as best player and the Golden Boot as top scorer, Brazil fell in the final, even with Ronaldinho adding 2 more assists. Back at Grêmio, though, he picked up right where he left off. Another blistering run in the Gaucho Championship, finishing just 2 goals shy of top scorer despite missing matches while carrying Brazil's U23s in the pre-Olympic tournament, where he racked up 9 goals and 4 assists in just 7 games. The whispers in Europe grew louder. Barcelona, Milan, Chelsea, PSV openly declared him Koku's successor. And even Manchester United, led by Ronaldo's glowing recommendation, reportedly put €30 million on the table. But Grêmio held firm, rejecting every bid. Instead, they tried to lock him down with a new deal, tripling his salary. That's when everything boiled over. Ronaldinho said no. A new law was about to come into effect, allowing players in the final months of their contracts to negotiate free transfers, and it became clear he and his brother, now acting as his agent, were plotting his exit. The situation became so heated that one of Grêmio's board members even appealed directly to the Brazilian president to delay the law's approval. Even after the heartbreak of the Olympics, where Brazil were shockingly knocked out by a 9-man Cameroon in extra time, despite Ronaldinho rescuing them with a last-minute equalizer, he returned to Grêmio for the Brazilian championship and exploded into form. 8 goals in the first stage alone. Out of nowhere, Paris Saint-Germain announced they were negotiating with him. The same kid who once swore he'd play for Grêmio for free was suddenly on his way out, and the city of Porto Alegre erupted in fury. The club, still delusional, even hung a banner outside their stadium. "We don't sell star players. Please don't insist." But within weeks, Ronaldinho was smiling for cameras in front of the Eiffel Tower, officially gone. He chose to wait in Paris for 6 months rather than face the backlash at home. It didn't help. Even after a long legal battle, Grêmio walked away with just €7 million. And when Ronaldinho finally returned to Porto Alegre, he was literally thrown out of a nightclub by his own people. From the moment he arrived in Paris, the hype around Ronaldinho was off the charts. First, it didn't click immediately. Manager Luis Fernandes was hesitant, unwilling to rush the young Brazilian into the starting lineup. But even he had to admit, those opening months were nothing short of magical. Whatever Ronaldinho tried, he seemed to get perfectly right. Then came the turning point. Anelka left mid-season, and another key player, Okocha, went down with injury. Fernandes had no choice but to hand Ronaldinho the keys to the team, and as the new year began, he absolutely exploded onto the scene. In his first game, he calmly converted a penalty against Monaco. Next match, he scored an impossible finish through the tiniest of gaps, then ran past the entire opposition to net a second, later voted goal of the season. The brilliance didn't stop there. Over the following games, he scored a free kick, then another penalty, followed by yet another free kick against Lorient, all while setting up 2 exquisite assists to destroy them 5-0. By the time the World Cup arrived, Coach Scolari had no choice but to start him in every match. From the very first whistle, Ronaldinho was mesmerizing, dribbling circles around defenders before they could even touch the ball. By the second game, he had already scored his first goal and set up Rivaldo. He repeated the feat in the round of 16. By the quarterfinals, any lingering doubts about whether this teenager could compete alongside the all-time greats evaporated. With Brazil trailing England 1-0 in the second half, again, he seized the ball, glided past the entire defense, and slid a perfect pass to Rivaldo for his 3rd consecutive assist of the tournament. Just 5 minutes later, before the crowd could even catch their breath, Ronaldinho unleashed a free kick so astonishing that commentators were left in disbelief, convinced he couldn't have meant to score it. Minutes later, he was whisked off the pitch for an anti-doping test, leaving journalists unable to question him immediately. Later, in an interview, he explained coolly, "Watching the footage, I noticed the keeper liked to come off his line, so I went for it." A week later, after sitting out the semi-final against Turkey, he returned for what would be the most important match of his career. History may not fully remember it, but that day was unforgettable. Twice he set Ronaldo up one-on-one with goalkeeper Kahn, and another pass saw his teammate strike the crossbar. Even though his own name didn't dominate the headlines, the result was undeniable. Ronaldinho was now a world champion. By the end of the year, his breakthrough performances had earned him 12th place in the Ballon d'Or rankings, a remarkable feat for a player so young. No matter how often his PSG manager complained, accusing him of caring more about Parisian nightlife than football, or claiming he only showed up for the big games, the truth is, Fernandes was notoriously hard to impress. Looking back, Ronaldinho's brilliance during that period is impossible to ignore. From October onward, he was unstoppable. Meanwhile in Spain, Joan Laporta had just won the Barcelona presidential elections, promising fans he would bring back the club's glory days. His plans hit a wall when Real Madrid swooped in and beat him to the signing of Ronaldinho. Luckily, one of Laporta's trusted aides, Sandro Rosell, suggested an alternative: go after Ronaldinho directly. Barcelona quickly moved, putting together a €35 million deal that snatched the Brazilian right out of Sir Alex Ferguson's hands, just 48 hours before he was set to join Manchester United. The signing was met with skepticism. Real Madrid executives mocked Barcelona, claiming, "He's too ugly, it won't help the brand." TV pundits accused Laporta of betraying the fans, calling it a cop-out. But a year and a half later, all doubts were silenced. Ronaldinho had become FIFA World Player of the Year, graced the cover of FIFA, and was loved by fans across the globe, proving he was truly the most adored player on the planet.